All right, let's see. Check, check, check. Mic working? Yep, mic's working. That'll work. Chat working? Yep, chat's working. Welcome, Michael and Jim and Eric and GoWeb and Steven. Steve, excuse me, Steve. Thank you, Steve. That's Steve does me a huge favor. He does me a huge favor by asking you to like this video, even though you haven't seen it. So I appreciate that. And the advantage is it boosts us up in the algorithms so other people that are interested in this subject can find it more easily. So you're really doing all those folks a favor. You're doing me a favor too, of course, because then the word gets out there. Yes, it does. A couple of interesting notes about today's live stream. One is we're not doing 4K today. We've been doing 4K for maybe the last 2 months, just kind of as a long-term trial. We've been using the BirdDog P400, this camera right here, as our main studio cam. It's a 4K camera, but it is limited to 30 frames a second. I'm very interested in trying out their big boy to this, the big brother to this one, which will do 4K 60. I think that's really going to be interesting for replay and other things. Yeah, Gunnar says we need to check the checklist because we're upside down. Am I really upside down? No, he's just teasing me. Let's see, we do have the ability to take people like that and send them. Oh, should have sent it there. Let's see. Let's try again. Is it not working today? Did I turn it off? Hold on. Hold on. No? Oh, it's sending it to the wrong. It needs to send it to. Let's see. Which one is it? Is it this one? No. It's a social. Thank you. Side-by-side streaming background. That's not it. Well, let's find it. Text middle center, text middle shadow. So, oh, there it is. Social. That should be the one. So refresh title. There we go. There we go. There we go. It for some reason it wasn't updating this like it should. Michael says he's only getting 720p. And, that's the thing with YouTube. YouTube will send you what it thinks you can receive. So in the past, we were sending, we were live streaming 4K, but YouTube was re-encoding that. Remember, they will in live action, re-encode 4K. They'll re-encode it to 1440. They'll re-encode it to 1080, 720, 480, 320, 240, and 144. So that's 7 different resolutions that they will re-encode your live stream to. And in our case, most of it, well, I'm not going to put it up. Oh, now Michael says he's got 1080p. Yeah, and that just depends on your bandwidth. Yeah, and you can also force a particular resolution, but the frame rate may not be as simple. Now we're doing 1080p 60 today, and the reason we're doing 1080p and not 4K is because we're going to talk about replay. We got the show starting here in just a minute. I keep looking at the clock, but I've got a clock right here on the screen. Old habits are hard to break. The replay will benefit from 60 frames a second because that's twice as many frames to work with. And so as you slow it down, it will keep a smoother frame rate. So if you take a 1080p 60 and slow it down 50%, what do you get? Well, the resolution stays the same, 1080, but the frame rate drops from 60 to 30, and 30 is still pretty decent. Movies are shot at 24 frames a second. So there you go. So that's why we're shifting today to 1080p 60. Not sure what we'll do next week. We'll just have to wait and see. Um, let's see, let's see. So Eric says we can get started now that he's here. Actually, it was Eric. Eric, it was inspiration from you that made me want to do this subject um, today, which is kind of a, an everyman's replay. And so, yeah. So your fancy keyboard where you have reestablished all the replays. I did have some problems setting this up today. I'll talk with you guys about in pre-show, and Eric, you might be able to chime in on. But yeah, the vMix Fun Time live show was last night, and they have added a couple of replay shortcuts, not really anything that I had heard of or thought I might use. But I think after vMix 24 kind of getting the big major rewrite, I don't know that they're adding or even really taking a look at anything in replay right now. So they'll just be the requests that people have asked for, the small number of shortcuts. Halloween hit the studio sounded like a screaming door opening. That's probably my chair. We'll try to lock it in position. It could also be that I've got my the front door to my studio cracked a little bit because I have pulled in. I'll go ahead and show it to you now. I've pulled in a second camera, and this second camera is a live shot of the roundabout about 200 yards from my studio, and we're going to use this for the replay today. So we'll have we'll have some live action that we can replay and make go backwards and forwards and slow down, and I think it'll be fun. And you can do it with just a few buttons on your controller. So yeah, there we go. So Eric's chiming in on that one. Thank you. I had forgotten today, actually I had forgotten previously, that at some point, probably when I was doing 4K, that I had changed my YouTube configuration on the latency. Remember, you can set the latency in YouTube. A low or normal latency will give you the best quality picture, the best quality audio, the best quality encode, because YouTube has, an extra 8 seconds to do it. But if you use the low latency encode setting in YouTube, you get lower latency, like 3 seconds, which means I can see your responses within a shorter period of time than I am today. So if you say something and I don't appear to be responding, well, I may be ignoring you. We'll be real upfront with that. Not really. Well, probably not really. But more likely, it's the fact that the latency has passed your comment by, or your comment still appears. It's just that you don't hear me for 15 seconds or whatever it is, and then you type your reply, and then I look, and we're way past it, or I've started the show and I'm just ignoring you altogether. So we do have. Oh yeah, we'll get that in the beginning of the show. Jim, I've got an update for you. So there we go. So there we go. So there's the. We can start now. Eric's here. Yeah. All right. So one last view here of the roundabout. That's right down the road here. And we've got a controller around here. We've got oh yeah, here it is. It is X Keys XK80. They're actually in our little store in easternshorebroadcasting.com. And this one has been custom configured by me for all the things that I need. And they're exactly where my mind remembers them to be. Plus, there's this big button down here on the very corner, which is my cough button, which will turn off and then turn back on again, my audio. You want to hear it? Here it goes. Cough, cough, cough. Yeah, there you go. So you too can get an XK80 in the store at easternshorebroadcasting.com. And I'll tell you what, I've got 2 extra vMix live streaming software buttons on here that I'm not using. And if you would like one, if you'll order an X-Keys XK80, I will send you a vMix button. How about that for a deal? There you go. Okay, so one last comment here with Michael. What? The XK? No, we're doing the everyman's replay today. So you don't need the $900 replay keyboard to do what we're doing today. You just need your regular keyboard with all the other function buttons on it and all that kind of thing. So there we go. All right, here we go. Show started. Sit tight. Ta-da! I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you again, Martin K. It's he is the bomb. He did the Jaws of Death opening. We've been using that here for the Streaming Idiot show. I almost called it the vMix Funtime Live show, but that was last night. No, we've been using it for the Streaming Idiot show for years, and I just love it. It's eclectic like us. Yes, that's one way to put it. Welcome to Streaming Idiots. I'm Tom Sinclair, of course, and we're glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about instant replay in vMix for the common man. And if you're a woman, it's not intended to be sexist. It's just, the common person just doesn't have the same ring to it. For the everyday idiot. How about that? You can raise your hand if you identify with that one. So, but before we do, I do want to mention it already, but I'll mention it again. Last night, today is Wednesday, October 19th. And last night was the 18th, at least here in the U.S. And I think it was actually the 19th in Australia. So anyway, don't ask me to figure that out because I'm not good with time zones. Anyway, the vMix Funtime live show was recently. How about that one? It was recently. And Heath and Tim had a very interesting dialogue back and forth. Tim apparently having just arrived in New York from Australia on a 30 plus, this was on the checklist, to turn off the telephone, and I forgot to do it. So my apologies to anyone and everyone involved. Yes. Anyway, Tim had just arrived from Australia, well, that day, and was putting up the booth at NAB New York, which sounds like a slenderized version of NAB Las Vegas. Slenderized, i.e. 5% or less, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I've never been, so I shouldn't speak poorly of it. What I'm trying to say is he just got off the plane after 30 plus hours, I'm sure, of flying, all literally around the world to get to New York. And he didn't have enough caffeine before the show last night. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's an absolute hoot. Tim does a tremendous zombie imitation for Halloween. So I just thought it was really, really great. So there we go. They also mentioned last night that Martin was not available because he was making the last little tweaks to vMix 26 beta. Now, obviously, this is not the release version because we've never even seen it yet. And the promise was that the vMix 26 beta would be released, what did they say? Something like soon or shortly or eminently or something like that, that had me go check my vMix website right away. If you're interested in picking up on vMix 26, when it's released, it will be released through the vMix forum. So if you go to forums, that's plural, forums. I've got Dave Edwards on the other line. Dave, it's show day. Forums.vmix.com. vMix 26 will be announced there as being released. Hello? I think it must be somebody out the door. And I was trying to explain to you earlier, I have the door cracked because I have a camera out there and I have a cable going through the door and I didn't want to smash the cable. So the door is just slightly cracked. So we're getting a little bit of road noise, and occasionally some of the other folks that occupy this complex will be chatting outside their doors. Don't they know they're not supposed to chat on Wednesday afternoons at 3 o'clock Eastern? Anyway. So vMix 26 beta is due out shortly. It is a smorgasbord release, that is, it has a little bit of something for everybody. They were listing the features last night. Heath was listing the features. You need to go back and hey, Ron, glad you're here, was listing the features for vMix 26. And there were so many, he couldn't even keep up with them all. So that is due out shortly. What else is due out, and in fact is out, but kind of not, is the Bird Dog Play. That's the little device from Bird Dog that will plug into your Ethernet on one side, and it has HDMI out that'll plug into your TV or monitors on the other side. And it's really economical. It's like, I don't know, $150, something like that. And those are beginning to ship, but in like small quantities. So if you have ordered one from us or somewhere else, they are shipping. They are shipping. But apparently they're using some old mule they found down in Australia to ship those suckers on. So that may be a while, maybe a little while before they come in. But they're shipping. We got to find out a way that shipping doesn't sound so fast. I mean, shipping sounds like, yes, it's shipping. More like, no, it's shipping. Whatever. Okay. Also, some of you may have the X keys, the replay controller X keys. That's the XKE 64 that was designed for vMix. If you are suffering from peeling keys, give me a shout, or give the folks at X Keys a shout, and we will send you a full replacement key set. Don't know how it happened. There was a bad batch that got through quality control somehow and got out into the real world. So if your X keys are peeling, holler to us and we'll send you a free set. And and if you ask X keys for them, you might end up getting some swag that I just don't have. So but anyway, I've got them on hand too. So we're glad to have them. All right. So today's show, now that we're finally getting around to it after this 10-minute introduction, today's show is, this phone is ringing again. Got to turn it off. Sorry. You know what? There is a setting on here where I can turn it down where it doesn't even make any noise at all. So we're going to go there. And we're going to go, silent, dead silent. The problem with silent is I forget to turn it back on later. And Sandy calls me and says, are you okay? You haven't been answering your phone forever and ever and ever. Anyway, glad Otis is here. We can really get started now. So the idea is that we have kind of vMix Replay for Dummies, for idiots. How about that? Replay for idiots. Replay is only available in vMix 4K, vMix Pro, and vMix Max. And you say, Tom, 4K and Pro, I understand. What is vMix Max? vMix Max is the subscription service. It was announced about a year ago. And you can rent vMix for $50 a month. That's the Pro edition, the $1,200 edition. So if you're if you're a sports broadcaster and you're using vMix HD, and you say, oh, I've got a big game coming up, I'd really like to use replay for it, you can rent vMix Pro, called vMix Max, for $50 for a whole month. And you can renew it as long as you want to. So you could rent it for the season. If you had a 12-week season, 12 weeks at $50 a piece is $600. So you could rent it for half the price of buying it. So, you can work out the Nick Craig is in the house. Holy cow. We've arrived if Nick is watching. Hey, bud, it's glad to have you. So there are ways to work that out. You've got to figure out the economy of it on your own. So vMix 4K, vMix Pro, and vMix Max also have instant replay, or have instant replay. vMix 4K allows you to designate one camera as your replay camera. vMix Pro and Max allow you to designate 8 cameras. Yes, try to keep up with 8 cameras of instant replay. Most of us are only using 2, maybe 3. So we're gonna say, let's say you're using 2 cameras for instant replay. What we're going to do today is just set up a really kind of quick and dirty way to use our Logitech or otherwise keyboard, or it could be our X-Keys XK80, but it's not the special replay controller that we have also that's in our store, you can see. But yeah. So what we want to do is introduce replay. So let me do I always try to get this stuff set up in advance, and I never do a good job of it. So let me give you my display, my desktop. Yeah, here is my desktop. And of course, it's going to go off to infinity. And let me put myself over here in preview so at least you can see me, and we'll get rid of that lower third right there. There we go. And I have got replay down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Oh, let's do one other thing with this. Let's go back to this little guy, and we're going to enable sharpen. That'll make the text just a little clearer. There we go. All right, so replay, we can turn it off and on right there. We're going to turn it on. We can get the little thumbtack here, and we can pop it out, and so we can drag it over to a second monitor if we wanted to. What I'm going to do today is I'm just going to leave it down here where we can see it. Let's dock it back again, because we're just going to do it on the quick and dirty. And so this assumes you've got maybe a 2-camera setup with let's say it's a laptop. So you've got one monitor you're working with, so you've got to kind of maximize your screen real estate. Okay, so we're going to designate, if you've never set up replay before, it's not hard. Let's go ahead and run through it pretty quickly. This is the replay configuration window, and you have to pick a destination for your temporary drive. So you need, if you're doing 2 cameras for a 3-hour game, you probably need, I'd say, I don't know, 100 gigs, maybe, something like that. I mean, it's going to take up some space. Here, I'm using 2 cameras at 1080p, and I've got 2 hours and 30 seconds recording time for 4 cameras at 96. And 96 happens to be the lowest quality available. So I don't have a whole lot of disk space left, but fortunately, we're not going to use a whole lot here today. I've set up 2 cameras, and I've just selected those from the drop down here. We may come back to this menu a little later on, but for right now, we're just going to leave it there, and we're just going to click OK, and we've set up our replay. Now, the first thing we do when we start replay is we turn it on, and this button right here starts recording both cameras. In our case, we have 2 cameras. We have me over here. Actually, it's this version of me right here, and we have this camera. And that's the little camera outdoors. And then that'll give us some movement that we can see in the replay. So we're going to start recording those now. And when we do, the little live button comes on, and this big circle turns red to let us know we're now recording. And we can record, the cameras are recording continually, so we can just basically go back in time and set in and out markers for our clip called an event. and then we can tell vMix to play that event. So even though the cameras are continuing to record off into the future, it can go back in time and play an event. And there are buttons on the screen, and we're going to make some shortcuts for some of these buttons in just a second. But there's a button on the screen right here. This button right here, this 5-second or -5 button, allows us to go back into the past and set a endpoint 5 seconds ago, and then it sets an out point for the current time. So let's say something cool is happening. Oh yeah, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Oh yeah, that was great. I should have gotten a replay. If you hit the -5 button, you can go back in time 5 seconds and get a replay. So we're going to do just that. And let's go ahead and bring up our, well, yeah, we'll put the cars here so you can see them, but they are one of the 2 cameras that we're using. So we're going to go back in time. We're going to get a 5-second clip. And this little orange line right here, that's our clip. And there's an in point in time and an out point in time and a duration, 5 seconds and 2/100ths of a second. And this is camera 1, which is the one that's outside, the bird dog. And this is camera 2, the one that's inside. And I can very quickly just click the play events button right here, and it will play a replay of what we just saw for 5 seconds. And then it'll switch back to whatever the active screen was. In our case, it's this mishmash of my vMix desktop. We can select it to play 2 cameras back to back by clicking this white button. If I go play events, it's going to play 5 seconds of the roundabout, and then it's going to play 5 seconds of our other person. Yeah, there we go. And so it's played essentially a 10-second clip. We can, let me adjust this window just a little bit right there. There we go. We can change the speed, and we've got little buttons here. We can do 25%, 33, 50, 75, or 100. We can change the direction. This little button right here allows us to make things go backward. So if we're going to play an event, and let's just play the bird dog event. We'll play it. We can make it go backward and forward and backward and forward. Now, it wasn't a very long clip. Let's do a 20-second clip. So I'm going to press 20 right here. We're going to get a 20-second clip, and we're going to play it, and it'll play forward, and then it'll play backward and forward and backward and forward. Yeah, you get the idea. And I'm just pressing a button in the vMix replay to make it go. Here's the backward and forward button right there. There we go. So you get an idea of what it's doing there. There we go. And we'll let that, we'll stop it playing. There we go. All right. So very quickly, we've got a replay. We're just hitting the 5-second button, and we're going back in time 5 seconds, and we're hitting the play event button. And then there it was. In this case, there was really nothing happening there. Let's make another 5-second clip because something did just happen. Oh, we're going backwards. That's why. Let's go forwards. And let's go back to this. We'll do another 5-second clip, and we'll play it. So now we get some real action in the parking lot. We can go backward and forward and backward and forward. And then the clip plays out. There we go. So, if you're in the middle of a hot game, you don't have time to search around on the vMix interface. It's a little cluttered, but it works when you have time. But it would be easier if you could hit the appropriate key on your keyboard when the time came. And that's where the vMix shortcuts come in. So let's go to shortcuts. And so we're going to go to settings. Yes, come on, here we go, settings. And we'll go to shortcuts. And in my case, I'm going to go to the keyboard. The keyboard meaning this thing right here. Because I don't want to see all the shortcuts that I've done for the vMix, for the X-Keys XK80. Here are some shortcuts that I put in today already. For example, there is a shortcut down here. Let's double click it and bring it up. This is a shortcut attached to the D5 key, and the D5 key is the number 5 across the top of the keyboard. And its command, its function is, it's a replay function, so it starts out with the word replay, and it simply says mark in, out, and live. And then underneath that, if you can see in the fine print, it says the number of previous seconds to use when creating a new event. And that's the value that I've put down here is 5. So we'll say OK and OK again. And so now when I press the 5 key on my keyboard, it will create a 5-second event into the past. Let's see. Let's pop this out for just a second. And we're going to just drag this over. Where is it? Yeah, we'll just drag this. Oops, wrong one. And so we can see that we've got multiple events here. I'm going to do the 5-second one again. Boom. We just added another 5-second clip there. And then we'll dock this back. You can't really see them all here, but you can scroll back through them. And then we'll scroll back down to the end, to the bottom. There we go. So our most recent clip is the one that's highlighted in orange. And then I have another button on my keyboard, and I thought, you know, what button could be the play button? And I thought about the enter button, but enter just functions as enter. And I thought about the space, but I might accidentally hit the space because it's so big. So I thought, well, I'll use the 0 on the number pad. So if I do the 0 on the number pad, that's going to play that last clip. 0 on the number pad, playing the last clip. There we go. And boom, we just did a 5-second replay with 2 buttons. We did it with the 5 on the keyboard. And you say, Tom, why didn't you use this 5 over here? Well, I'm going to get to that in just a second. But you can do it any way you want. I use the 5 here and the 0 here to record a clip and play a clip. Very simple, very simple. Now, let's say that the play was a long play. Ooh, and 5 seconds is not going to be long enough. I need a 10-second button. So let's go back to shortcuts. I think I set one up. Settings, shortcuts. D6, replay, mark in, out, live, value 10. There we go. Already got it set up. There it is. So the 6 button, and Tom, why did you use the 6 button? Because it was right next to the 5. So I've got a 5, and then I've got a 6. And if I was going to do a 15 or 20-second clip, I could do the 7 right there, all next to each other. In fact, I might get some little sticky labels and put them on there, you know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, that kind of thing. All right, so we've got a 5. Let's try a 6. See if we can get a 10-second clip. And as we do that, watch right here and see if this duration changes to 10. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Well, it didn't change to 10, but it changed to 9.99 seconds. So we can do that, and we can play it there. And we're going to play it through for 10 seconds. It's going to take forever because it's a 10-second clip of cars driving around in a circle. There we go. But we can also do some things here that can make the clip a little bit more interesting. And again, since we're using the keyboard to do it, we can do it with our fingers pretty quickly. So for example, we might say, well, Tom, all those replays you've been playing have been at 100% speed, you know, basically live. What if we could slow it down to 50% speed? I have a little cheat sheet over here I've got to look at of shortcuts I've already done. Yeah, 50% speed. So let's use the keyboard, the number pad of the keys, and I'm going to use numbers 7, 8, and 9. Why? Just because you've seen my X keys. just because, and I'm going to make 8 50%. I already have, but let's look at it. So we'll go to settings. We'll go to shortcuts. We'll go to keyboard, and we're looking for number pad 8, and it says replay set speed. See the set rate slow motion. And in this case, the speed options are 0 to 1. So I've set 0.5 would be 50%. All right. And let's just look at the others while we're here. We've got number pad 7, and I've got that one set to 0.1, so that's 10% speed. So that's pretty slow. But I can go back and forth between them. And I also want to set up one for 100% speed. So let's add that one now. So we're going to add, and I'll use the find button to find the 9 on the keyboard. And the function is going to be in the replay section. And it's going to be replay set speed. There we go. And the speed is going to be 1. So it'll be 100%. All right, so let's try a clip. We've got a 20-second clip right here. We can go ahead and play that. And then we can adjust the speed to 50%. I'm going to adjust the speed to 10%. Ooh, that really slowed it down. Back to 50%, and then back to 100% by pushing my 7, 8, and 9 buttons. And there we go, and we're back to live. Now, I have the option also using shortcuts to not only change to a fixed number, but to reduce the speed or speed the speed up by a certain amount. So let's say I've got a shortcut at 100%, and I want to gradually slow it down to 0. I can do that with keys on my keyboard. I don't have a T-bar, which is what the X Keys replay controller has on it to do that. And that's the purpose of the T-bar, is to go from 100 back to 0, back to 100 to 0. You get the picture. But I can use keys here to slow it down or speed it up, let's say 33%. So if I'm at 100%, I can press that key once to slow it down to 66.6, and then press that key again to slow it down to 33.3, and press that same key to slow it down again to 0, because that's my 33% button. So let's go into settings and take a look at how I did that. So we'll go to settings, we'll go to shortcuts, and we've got this called change speed, replay change speed. And I have used the plus button on the keyboard, right over here on the keypad. I've used the plus button to increase the speed, and I'm going to increase it by 0.33. In the same way, I've set up one called replay change speed that does a negative 33. And that allows me to slow it down by 33. So if I continue to press these buttons, I'm going to slow it down and speed it up in 33% increments. So let's give it a try. All right. So we're going to press the go button. And then I'm going to slow it down 33, slow it down 33 more, slow it down 33 more where it stops, speed it to 33, speed it back up to 66, speed it back up to 100%. And then let's find some more action here we can look at. Whoops, we're out of replay. Okay, so there we go. We're out of replay. And you can see my stream button right there is flashing, which means our internet is not cooperating. We're probably trying to stream faster than we should, but oh well, we'll keep going. One of the other things we can do is we can change the direction of the replay. So that would be this little button right here would allow us to reverse. It's a toggle to reverse the playback. So if I play this event, I can make it go backwards and forwards. You saw that a second ago. Well, let's set up a replay that does that. So we'll go to settings, we'll go to shortcuts, And I think I've got it set here. It is add, subtract. No, I don't have it set. Oh, yeah, there it is. I've got it set up for the C key, C as in change. So it's replay, change direction, and it doesn't need any numbers added to it. And it is going to be effective on the current replay channel, not just A or B, but both of them. So we'll say okay, okay, and then we're going to play this clip, this 10-second clip, right now. And then we'll do a C to change directions and change directions again. And then we'll slow it down a little bit here, and then we can change directions back and forward. We can go back in time. We can slow it back in time, then speed it up back in time, and then make it go forward again. And then we're on to the end of the clip. And so we did that using the C key. What other ones have I done here? Oh, I know. You can, during the course of a clip, you can change the camera angle while the replay is live. So if we have, two cameras looking at the same shot down on the field, one's a close-up, one's a field-wide shot, we can switch camera positions like we were switching camera positions live, but we can do it within the course of the replay. And I've reserved the 1 and 2 buttons down here to allow us to go back and forth between camera 1 and camera 2. And let's see, let's go ahead and set those up if we haven't already. So we're going to go to settings. Let's see here. And replay, shortcuts. And have we done number pad 1 and 2 yet? No, we haven't. Okay, so let's add. We'll find number pad 1. And the function is going to be in the replay section. And it's going to be replay. Is it just as simple as saying replay camera 1? I don't think so. Let's just double check. It probably is. Replay select channel A, B, or A. That's not it. Well, let's just try it. I haven't done this one in advance, so we'll just see. Replay camera 1. All right. And we'll go ahead and set the other one up here. Find number pad 2. And it's on the replay section. Replay camera 2. Let's see if that works. So we'll say okay. And we'll play our 10-second clip. And we'll switch back from camera 1 to camera 1 to camera 2, back to camera 1, back to camera 2, back to camera 1, and we are out of the clip. So now we have the ability to switch cameras within the course of the replay, again, just from the regular keyboard. And what else can we do? Actually, we can do anything that's on the replay shortcut list. But these are the ones that I think, kind of it's not really bare minimum. I don't think it's bare minimum because I think we've done quite a bit, but it is very doable on this keyboard for one operator to have, and you can use whatever buttons you want to. You don't have to use my buttons, especially if you've already got 1 and 2 assigned for the live camera switching between camera 1 and camera 2. As you're doing a shortcut to cut to camera 1, a shortcut to cut to camera 2, that kind of thing. You can use whatever points you want. But the idea is that you can set up this keyboard so that the keyboard will allow you to have a type of muscle memory to know where you can go. So it could be as simple as hitting the 5 button and hitting the 0 button to do a 5-second replay. And if you wanted to, you could put the 5 over here so it would be even easier for your hand to get to it and easier for your hand to feel it. So yeah, there you go. And that is instant replay for idiots. like me. All right, we're going to move for post show for questions. But if you would like to purchase vMix or even rent it, it's available on our website at easternshorebroadcasting.com. Let's see if we can bring that up here. Yeah, there you go. I think that URL takes you to our website or that QR code. If you are interested in having a vMix system built for you, we built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them over the years. One's dedicated just to replay, or one's dedicated to maybe an 8-camera vMix call setup. All sorts of ones. We love working with churches and schools and individuals. So if we can help you with that, we will. So let's go to post show, and we'll check your questions, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're in the post show, and Steve's in Orange Beach. Rick's in Orange Beach. Hey, Rick, come up and have lunch with me this week. I'd love to see you. One thing that we forgot just a minute ago on our tutorial, and let's bring that screen back up for just a second, is to turn off the replay. And so I turned it off just now. And let's see how much space we used with two 1080p cameras at 59.94. We used 27 gigabytes, and that was about 20 minutes. So, you might say maybe a gig and a half a minute or something like that. Again, depending on the recording format, that is the resolution and the frame rate and the quality that you choose. So we're going to delete that 27 here so that we can get it back. And then we'll close that out. Yeah, and we'll go back over here. So there we go. So we've got that. So that was the, Clint. Hopefully you got something out of it that you can do. Let's see, what did we miss here in the comments? Just looking through the comments here. TKDS made it just in time. I'm happy to help with that, Ron. Let's do lunch. Let's do something over lunch one day. We can sketch it out on the back of an envelope. Great question, Steve. Let's go back to Steve for a second. For somehow we got there. There we go. Oh yeah. Hold on. We are got to adjust our vMix social settings, because somehow I got something added to the queue that I shouldn't have. All right. How many camera inputs can you record simultaneously in vMix 4K? Well, if you're asking how many simultaneous camera inputs you can record in 1080p in the vMix version 4K, the answer is as many as your hardware will support. It's up to your hardware. Obviously, a laptop is not going to be able to do as much as a desktop with a bigger processor, and bigger storage capacity. I would say there's probably a a theoretical limit of, I would guess, maybe 16 in a maxed out, really rugged, heavy duty, beastly system that used every trick and trade known to man, using vMix. That may change when the next set of processors and GPUs come in. The vMix, what's it called? vMix AVI version of recording of the vMix AVI. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied here. The vMix AVI format of AVI, so it's sort of a proprietary, non-compressed format, is very lightweight, and so at that point it just meant it's just dependent on the ability to write to disk simultaneously and how many cameras you can and whether you can split them up among disks, that kind of thing. But the feature in vMix, the multi-quarter feature, which is also the same thing we were using in Replay, I would think, well, we built a system for the city of Daytona Beach to use in their municipal stadium that was designed for 8 cameras, 8-camera replay, and that was doing pretty well. I don't know if I'd go much more than 8. In fact, professionally, I wouldn't go much more than 8. Yeah. Let's see. Talking about the shipping of the Bird Dog Play, I don't think it's COVID. I think it's actually, well, I mean, it's the trickle down from COVID, which is supply chain issues. And I think the Bird Dog guys made a design change in the middle of production, probably to try to speed up production, where they moved from a part that was harder to get to one that was easier to get. And then they had to do some engineerings to make it work. Jan says, can we do that? There we go. He gets about 4 hours out of his 1.5 terabyte replay disk. 8 cameras at 1080p 50 at max quality. That's 4 hours. That's not shabby. Yeah. Good. Welcome, Emmanuel. Glad to have you. Yes, indeedy. Oh, that's sweet. Jan says, I once automated replay for some fencing, and he doesn't mean installing gates and fences. He's talking about sword fighting. Every time the system beeped, it managed to trigger a shortcut that played out the previous 2 seconds from the replay triggered by a microphone level. Well done, sir. Well done. So he had a microphone right up there and could hear the beep, and that triggered a replay. I love it. Oh, gosh. Maggie says, are you using a QWERTY keyboard and a mouse for this? Yes, Maggie. I'm using a QWERTY keyboard and a mouse because this is the common everyday man's replay for idiots. But I did mention that you could very easily do the same thing on an X-Keys XK80 if you couldn't happen to afford the X-Keys XKE64 replay controller. Yeah. But see, people start where they are and they grow and they grow and they grow and they grow. And I've had a lot of folks that have started out somewhere else and have come back and said, Tom, I'm ready for the replay controller now. There you go. Ready for the replay controller. Do the X keys or Stream Deck shortcuts work even if you click off of vMix temporarily to type in another window? Can't tell you about the Stream Deck, but yes for the X keys. Yes for the X keys. And in fact, we can experiment with the version that we just worked with right here. And I'm gonna pull up something else. Let's see if I can pull up something else and be typing in it here. Yeah, and if I type a 5 here, it's just going to put a 5 in whatever I'm typing over there. So it will not work on this keyboard. Actually, I have 2 keyboards here. Let me try the other one. Yep. Yeah, I've got a dual keyboard set up today, but both of those will just simply take the active window, unlike the X keys and possibly the Stream Deck that will take and send a command to vMix regardless of what else is going on your PC. Yeah. 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 Loving it. Let's see. Welcome, Biz. Glad you're here. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Unfortunately, that's just the way Windows worked. And you missed it all, but that's the beauty of replay. Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing calling me from the Mojave Desert during the middle of the show? That's what I want to know, Dave. Yeah. Smart guy. Smart guy. Too smart for his own good. I think so. I think so. I think so. Thank you. Michael is absolutely correct. When we talk about the vMix AVI files, you do have to do a re-indexing process. vMix got the app right there. I think it's, what is it? vMix Video Tools that allows you to do that. It's in the hamburger menu, and then it's separately in the vMix programs folder. Dave, that is correct. vMix 4K does single camera replay, but I think it does multi-quarter, and I think I misunderstood the question at first, but thank you. That's probably the question that was being asked. Thank you, Dave. Question, is there a limit to what input can be used as a trigger? When I use the drop-down menu, I notice it doesn't display all the inputs. Well, let's see. Triggers. Let me do a desktop capture, and maybe I can answer your question a little better. We'll go there. And we're going to go to, we'll just go to the triggers here. We've got all the different options that are the trigger. We've got the various transitions that we can use on these triggers. And then we have all the inputs that can be involved with the triggers. So I think it really depends on what the nature of the input is that you're using as the trigger. In Jan's example, he used a microphone, excuse me, an audio input that had, well, we'll go back to it. Pretend this is a microphone, an audio input, and says that the on audio meter of decibel 6 in this case, and it was probably a, you know, he could have gone directly to a replay shortcut, and it could have been replay mark in out live 3 seconds, and yeah, and there we go. So whenever the audio hit a certain level, it would do a replay, and then, you know, or in this case, maybe it was replay out live. Yeah, it may have been a series of triggers. One to make the replay and one to play the replay. Yep. Why don't we ask him? Jan, what's the answer? Jan says the answer is if you're going to do some serious replay, get the X keys. Oh, Jan, you just made it on Maggie's Christmas list again. Good question. How do you mute the audio on replay? Well, let's go back to our question here. We'll go into the configuration. The playback audio source right here allows us to select a particular camera or the master, or it can follow the camera, or we can set it for a camera like camera number 7 that just doesn't exist and thus has no audio with it. So, yep, that's how I do it. Michael wants to be on Maggie's Christmas list too. Hello, Martin. Welcome. Glad to have you. I mean, I could just go through and post the comments. That's the fun part of it. Oh, really? Let's look. Let's see. Let's add another trigger. Let's go here. And we'll go transition. It's going to be a cut. And the preview is going to be only 300 inputs. How about that? Did not know that. Never used 300 inputs. But that sounds like a feature request and or a bug report. Good catch. For those of you that are using more than 300 inputs, take aim of that in triggers. It depends on what the inputs are. Some inputs require virtually no resources. Ah, yes. That's an even easier, well, maybe not easier, but certainly less expensive, because the delay function is in vMix HD. That might be a good show in that. And it was more than one trigger. Okay, good. That answers that question. And Dave used a trigger, Ron, to set the fader to 0 on the replay input. Maybe you should. Oh, that's funny. Ah, so Steve's question wasn't about replay, it was about multi-quarter. Dave. Jeez. Dave. Guy comes in here and thinks he knows everything. He does know everything. All right, you were right the first time, Tom. I used 3 cameras at 1080p for our church service. I want to record all 3 so I can make a different video than the live stream. Exactly what multi-quarter was intended for. Yeah, the best bet on that is to probably see if you can add a drive to your system, assuming your system doesn't have a blank, unused drive already. An NVE M.2 drive would be best. That is the little chips that you can add to the motherboard as a drive. Assuming that those aren't available, sometimes you can, if you have a PCIe slot available, you can add a M.2 drive via a small PCIe card that will just have an M.2 slot on it. And those are inexpensive, 20, 30 bucks for the card, and then, you know, whatever size drive you want to get. If you're going to do a hard disk, make sure that the hard disk is at least 7,200 RPM. The 5,400 RPMs are not fast enough. The 10,000 RPM would probably be better. But could you do 3 cameras? I think you could do 3. You could do 3 cameras on a 7,200. Sorry, the door's open. You could do 3 cameras on a 7,200 RPM drive. You know, get a terabyte drive. Yeah, terabyte drive, and you'd have plenty of space. Yep. Sketty Eddie. Well, thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I like thumbs up. And yes, you can select to play the master, absolutely. So that would be the audio that would be coming through the replay clip. But I think the master gets selected anyway, doesn't it? Let's check. Let's turn replay back on temporarily. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Replay on temporarily. We're recording 2 cameras now. And let's see, I'm going to put A here in preview so you can see what A sees. And then we're going to record a 5-second clip. There we go. That's a 5-second clip. And I'm going to play a 5-second clip, and I'm going to keep talking and tell me if you can hear me talking when I play that clip. 3, 2, 1, play. So now I'm seeing the clip and I'm talking over the clip. Can you hear me talking over the clip? I think you could. Could you hear me talking over the clip? That is the question. And I think, you know, the purpose of the audio thing in vMix, I don't know why the master would be included. Maybe just to make people feel better. Michael records the master on the replay so that when he stitches a 30-minute recap, it's the master that's recorded. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so that the master is recorded with the camera. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. That's good. That's good. What can I say? He's Dave. He's Dave. All right, guys, I got to wrap this up. I got DHL that wants to deliver something, but I have to be there to sign for it. And I have everything sent to my house because I'm not always here at the studio. So I've got to wrap this session up. But I dearly loved hanging out with you guys. It was a pleasure, of course. And don't forget to tune in next week. Don't forget, oh, you know, here's the deal. We'll do it again. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to, what is the other one? Oh, click the notifications bell. Or we could all just be adults and you could do whatever it is you wanted to do when you were doing it. So, yeah. But the thumbs up does help with the algorithm. So, yeah. So, thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. And I'll catch you on the flip, and I'll let you go out with a little themey music, shall we say? All right. Thanks for watching.